All right, well, I got 10 o'clock. I don't see Graham. So, Heather or Lori, if you could find out if Graham's coming on. I'm not sure if he or Maddie are going to be giving a presentation today. But anyways, good morning, everybody. Jeff Krieger, Executive Director of the Association. Pleasure to be with you today. I apologize, I haven't been on the last couple of Township Tuesdays, the last several. I actually am just getting back from having rotator cuff surgery. I actually had that at the end of December. I just got my sling off last Friday. I was on that for 6 weeks and now starting rehab, which is, oh, what a joy. I do not wish this on anybody, so please, no one fall, and especially don't fall on your shoulder. But hey, I just have a few announcements before I send it off to either Graham or Maddie, whoever's going to be doing the other presentation. Obviously, spring short courses are coming up March 18th through April 5th. We're going to be having all the voting that we did not have at the annual conference. And so we're going to be doing that for the bylaw proposed changes and also the dues proposed changes. And so we're going to be doing that obviously by venue. And so whichever venue you wish to go to, obviously you can do your voting there. The exciting thing about that is that instead of having the normal 2 to 3% or 200 to 300 people that could potentially vote out of the 9,000 officers that we have, we're going to have about a third of you guys voting and deciding, or about 3,000 of you deciding the direction of your association. So that's a pretty exciting thing to be able to do, so that the power doesn't rest in just a small handful of people. It rests with majority, or it won't be a majority, but at least a good percentage of all of you guys. So the third would just be a huge, huge change for us. And like I said, very exciting too. With that, we also plan on having, even though we did the educational sessions last fall, we're going to do things a little differently. And one of the things that was, obviously we're limited as far as what time we can do these things. Our staff, they all have lives, they have families, and so forth. But so what we're going to do this time is that I've asked, actually just this morning, I've asked Steve to put his legal team together and come up with a webinar, and so that it can have an all-encompassing educational video on all the proposed changes. This is the thinking of the board. This is why we're doing it. The good, the bad, and so forth. And we also have had numerous questions, from people from around the state and so forth. And we're going to incorporate those questions in on this. So it's not going to be a back and forth like we otherwise would prefer to have. But now you can actually watch the video at your own leisure. And we're hoping that this is going to be a good compromise for the vast majority of you members for that. So the other thing is, and we will send out a constant contact to everybody's, and with a link to the video once we have it produced. And it won't be produced next week. So give us a little time. We'll get it done before short courses start. But then, of course, Township Day at the Capitol will be April 8th and 9th. And we do have buses. The board had approved buses in 5 different routes. And I believe that you can see those routes on our website. Leslie, correct me if I'm wrong. And but anyways, if you are interested and get on to those on those bus routes, give us or actually, Leslie, who should they be contacting? Or is there a sign up online?
Yep, all the information can be found on the MAT website. It's pretty easy. Just go to the Township Tuesday, all on the website, and then also on the sign up, you can see the stops and all the information. And I'll put it in the link in the chat as well. Perfect.
Thank you. Guys, we really want to just flood the Capitol. And last year we had about 100 people, which is a great turnout, because usually, prior to that, we had, 70 to 80 people at most. And and this year I would like to have 200 to 300 people. That would just be fantastic. And the format's going to be pretty much similar to what we had last year. We're going to have the legislative days or legislative meeting days. First off, we'll have dinner that first night. And then, of course, we're going to have speakers come on in the second day and talk to you guys as a group. And so if you have any questions about that, feel free to give us a jingle, ask us, for that. But otherwise, please sign up. Like I said, we want to get as many people as we possibly can to the Capitol in April. So with that, if there's no other question, actually, I see a couple of chat things. Maybe that's just Leslie. 3,000 people show up at the short courses over all 15 venues. In history, that's been about the average. 3,000, 3,300, somewhere in that area has roughly been what our average has been. Last year was a little light, and some of that too, we're just getting out of COVID. I think last year was actually the first time that we actually did short courses since COVID, and so it's short courses in person, and so it was in the 2000s somewhere. But if everything is as normal or on average with pre-pandemic numbers, we'll be about 3,000 attendees. Graham already answered that. Thank you very much. And I see Leslie has a link for how to sign up, and that's it. Graham, take it away, sir.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, let me go ahead and get my presentation shared here. All righty. Okay, can everybody see and hear me okay here?
You don't see anything. Well, we see, okay, something's coming up.
There we go.
There it is.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Town Tuesday, February 6th, 2024. So we've got a couple of things in the hopper here. Today we have a little bit of a brief one on township fire statutes, and in particular, sort of what I see as the critical piece when negotiating with the fire department. And then after I'm sort of done with that bit, we're going to have Heather from MATIT come on and talk about workers' compensation related survey issues. So let's dive right into it here. Now, township fire statutes come broadly in two big areas as far as I'm concerned. So for most of us, it's 365.15 through 365.18. Those are kind of the meat of the important ones. And then for urban townships, more townships exercising urban powers, 368.01 is kind of the big list of all of those powers. And then it's subdivision 9 and subdivision 20 are kind of the way, are kind of where those powers are sourced. Talking about 365 townships, and for this presentation, we're mostly assuming that everybody that we're talking to is Chapter 365 township, because most of us are. But hopefully this will still be a little bit valuable if you're Chapter 368. Anyway, the basic rule comes from 365.15, which is the electors at a town meeting may direct the town board to provide for fire protection, get, operate, and keep up police and fire apparatus. The board may act jointly with a home rule charter or statutory city, other town in getting the apparatus. They can also set the amount of money to be raised in one or more year for these purposes. Now there's a couple of important bits about this statute that hopefully you'll agree with me that they're important by the end of this presentation. But that language, the electors may direct, and the electors can also set the amount of money for these purposes. Now that basic power relationship is re-emphasized in 365.16 and 365.18. I won't bore you by reading the text here, but you can see them up on your screen. And once again, this is very clearly putting the power of the purse in the elector's court, not in the town board. Now, when dealing with these statutes, I kind of got to give the usual caveats. We have almost no authority dealing with these cases at all. So after searching for a fair amount of time, I wasn't able to locate a single published case in which Minnesota Court of Appeals or the Minnesota Supreme Court has dealt with these. Instead, what we have are a series of attorney general opinions using older versions of the statutes and being kind of what I would characterize as aggressively technical. Now, just as sort of an illustration of how technical they're being with this stuff, we have a 1963 opinion saying that when the vote of electors was by a voice vote, that didn't count. We have a 1951 saying oral voting doesn't count. There are ones that purport to bind townships to use particular wording on ballot questions. Now, I don't bring those up as a way to sort of to give you a set of rules. I actually don't think those are legally binding on townships. They were interpreting an old version of the statute which had different language, and they were also they're also the Attorney General opinion. Of course, the Attorney General of the state of Minnesota does not get to set law. All he is a learned interlocutor who townships can ask for legal opinion about these things. But like I said, this was interpreting an older version of the statute, and they were pretty aggressively technical about it. Nevertheless, we have this may direct and this elector language, and we have examples of the Court of Appeals dealing with similar language. And we've talked about this in the past, Hagan versus Winmere. Similar language, the may-let language, was interpreted to mean the town board does not have the authority to do this without elector permission. Now, Chapter 368 is different. So this is subdivision 9, which is sort of the primary source of authority for an urban town. Town board may establish a fire department, appoint officers, members, prescribe their duties, provide fire apparatus. So this is for the urban townships. This is subdivision 9 in chapter 368, and just look at how different that is. So the town board by itself may establish the fire department. They can appoint firefighters. They can appoint officers. They can prescribe their duties. They can provide for fire apparatus, and they can pass fire control ordinances by their own authority. So why am I bringing this up? Why does this matter? Well, in my view, when you are dealing with particularly with a recalcitrant or difficult fire department, these statutes taken together give the electors something of a nuclear option. They have the authority to revoke the board's authority, because we have these two different statutes dealing with similar subjects in similar chapters. One clearly gives the authority to the board. One follows the language of language that's very similar to language that has been found to be sort of basic in its capacity. So that is that the town board lacks authority to act without elector permission, meaning when you are potentially dealing with a difficult fire department, you have a very big stick to wield. Now, of course, this is something of mutually assured destruction. But if the electors say we're not willing to pay for you guys to come out here to cool the ashes, if you're dealing with the fire department, as we have, seen from time to time throughout the state, who just, they go ahead and they buy themselves $1 million fire apparatus without checking and then just up your bill. You don't have to accept that. There are very clear statutes. We've given you the citation. We've given you the basics of the argument that say they don't get to just impose this on you. And that's something that's potentially worth pointing out. Now, of course, nobody wants to not have fire protection. We're not in this business because we don't like serving the public, of course. But when you are dealing with a particularly difficult fire department, this can be a source of real leverage. So hopefully, if you find yourself in this situation, you'll be able to just pull this presentation up, grab the citations, grab the arguments, and say, hey guys, you need to treat us a little better here. Okay. Can fire protection funds be within the general levy, or should they be specified separately? So I would take 365.15 and 16 to mean that they should be separate. We have the electors are supposed to direct us to put a specific amount in the fire fund. Now there are potential ways to sort of monkey with that. You're putting me on the spot a little bit here, but let me see if I can find it. In chapter 365, I believe that there is a specific provision that tells you when you have a surplus in the general fund, you can potentially move that around as necessary, but practicing law from memory is a bad idea. So I'm going to do my best to lay my hands on that specific statute before I give you that formal little caveat here. All right, here we go. Let's put this one on up here. All righty. So this one has been interpreted by the Minnesota Attorney General's office to permit the transfer into a fire fund, but it is there. So there are some caveats here. So yes, it should be separate, but if you have a surplus in beyond the needs of the current year in a town fund to any other town fund to supply a deficiency, and by unanimous vote, you can potentially use that as a way to sort of to make this a little bit more fungible. But it's important that, you know, you've got those three pieces. It needs to be unanimous. You need to have an actual surplus in one fund, and you need to have an actual deficiency in another. So it's not just we budgeted badly. It's you know, we had a bunch of expenses that we didn't anticipate. We ended up with a deficiency, and actually we budgeted well in this other place, so we can move it around a little bit. We've got a unanimous vote. But yes, with that caveat, that is correct. It's a little bit of humor there from Pat. Fair enough. Well, does anybody have any questions, or should we be moving on to Heather here?
Yeah, you got to watch out for Pat. I'm just saying.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time and your attention. Heather, are you ready to take it away here?
We'll find out. All right. All right, so this is for the members that currently are participating in our work comp program. So if not, I mean, hang in, you know, we're gonna get a little bit deep, but this will kind of do a few things. I want to show you a little bit about the origami system that the members or the board put in place a couple years ago, and then just kind of talk about, you know, what we see and how we do things on our end to kind of, you know, show you guys how to do things, you know, on your end. So what we have here is a list of all the townships who are, you know, still, you know, you can see we've got a few who are still pending, you know, versus the completed number. And I'm just going to walk you through how to do this, you know, from a township perspective. We're going to call this a W-3 for purposes of just attaching a file, because I don't have a W-3. So that, and I thought that was funnier anyway. So what we do is we send out an email, and your email, the first one that you got looked something like this. And, you know, it says, you know, grab your stuff, you know, get all your stuff together in terms of payroll documents, have some kind of a backup to verify what you're going to put in to our form. And then you click this link. The word link is the link. We get that a lot. I don't have a link. This is your link. And so then you click on the link. Oh, and it's not going to let me do it because all right, so we're going to go in the back door. But this shows all of the emails that I have sent through, you know, to myself throughout the various processes. So, you know, we kind of had a smattering the first day, first week, and then I try to get weekly. And, you know, pretty soon, probably today, I'm going to start with daily ones. But what we'll do here is we'll go through the back door. So this is what you get to. Once you click that link that I showed you previously, you come here and you see this payroll collection. It might ask you if you want to take a tour. And then you get here. And so, you know, our payroll stayed relatively flat. You know, we paid everybody $100,000 last year, paid everybody $100,000 again. And I'll show you how to attach a file. So we're going to upload a new file. I've got that picture saved on my desktop, so I'm going to choose that. Let's see, so I'll show you here. Desktop, we've got picture 1. And that's going to be that same picture. We're going to save that. And just, I'll show you as soon as it uploads. There we go. There's that same picture from earlier. And then we're going to click Save as Completed. Or if you're not sure and you need something else, and you can click save for later. But once you click save is completed, you will get an email sent to your email, and I'm going to see if it does it here. Let's go. Where's my, oh, did I close my, oh, here we go. Boom, there we go. So this says this is what you sent. And then you can see here, it says it's done. Where is my image? It should give me an image. All right. Working in live time with technology, this is where you find out, you know, things don't always work the way you anticipated. But we'll make sure that you do get a copy of what you had submitted on the previous screen. And that is it for the work comp survey audit, depending, you know, both the same thing, depending on what you want to call it yourself. All right. Is there some schedule on CTAS that I'm going to, I don't know anything about CTAS. Let me check with Lori and find out if there is, and I will get back to you. I do know that that was something that they were working on earlier, and I'm not sure if it's done, but I will check with Lori and get back to you on that. And that is the only chat that I see for me. So I'm going to stop. All right, back to you, Graham.
Oops. All right. Well, folks, thank you very much for your time and for your attention.
No. Heather, there's a thing in the chat, please.
Yeah, I said I'm gonna have to get with Lori and find out on that if there's a thing. If I do know, if you're not putting in, if you're not tracking time by the job, I'm not sure if CTAS does that on its own. So I'm
Well,
gonna
I
have to
track it on my payroll, because I handwrite the payroll out.
Mhm.
I track it on that, like the cemetery, how many hours they spent there, how many hours they
Yep.
spent on the ice rink, all this stuff. But when I tried to put all these numbers together, I ended up with this many numbers I'm trying to add up for each column. And when I got the W-3, I was $10,000 different.
That sometimes that will happen because not everybody gets a W-2, and theoretically the W-3 is a collection of W-2, so it might not match dollar for dollar, and we expect that, and that's fine. You know, so like I said, some people don't get one, some people don't make enough money, some people, I mean, there's a, you know, kind of a myriad of reasons why it won't match, and that's okay. But yeah, I'll like I said, I'll have to check with Lori about, you know, entering in specific job, you know, codes and
Or can I just take the W-2s and say, okay, this is a supervisor, even though he did some ice rink time, and just take supervisor pay for him, all of his W-2 total, and add that up as supervisor, but then I won't have
Yes.
anything in the cemetery.
Yeah, that's I mean, ideally we would like to see it broken out, but yes, you can do that, and that's fine.
Because then I can get the numbers to match. That's easy.
And that's fine, you know, because if you didn't pay him that other, you know, if you didn't pay him a different rate, then it might not match up dollar for dollar. So no, that's fine. Supervisors, their code is kind of a jack of all trades anyway. So, you know, as long as, you know, we really want to see tree trimming broken out, and we really want to see road maintenance broken out. But everything else, I think the supervisor, that code is kind of all encompassing.
Yeah, they don't do that. But the cemetery one is my summer help crew went there and they worked in the cemetery and righted tombstones and cleaned them and stuff like that this summer.
How much did
And
they
if I
make?
don't, how much do they make? $12 an hour.
So, I mean, if they didn't make, I don't know if they hit that $600 threshold. I'm not a good mathematician. So then,
They
but if they
actually each
didn't,
made about $1,000 for the year.
okay. So then they should, yeah, they should have gotten it. So yeah, then that would then put them in that cemetery code, put the supervisors in the supervisor, put the cemetery workers in the cemetery worker code, and you know, we'll
But the
just,
summer help wasn't always at the cemetery. Sometimes they're on the grounds here painting rocks, picking weeds.
same kind of, I think that would work because it's the same kind of work.
Okay.
So, yeah,
So I can list all the summer help as cemetery help.
that'll work. Yep.
I'm
Because
good with
they
that.
were
All right.
doing, they were doing all kind of the same thing, regardless of whether it was at the cemetery or if it was there, picking rocks, pulling weeds, cleaning things. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that should all work.
okay, because then I'll have something in the cemetery and you guys won't call me and say, hey, you don't have anything listed here,
Okay,
because you've done that.
yeah.
right.
And I see somebody else saying that they didn't get our completed report. I will work on getting those for you guys. At the very end, I'm going to, mark everybody, as still pending, and I'll throw everyone back to completed, and hopefully that will trigger all of those. But I'll work on making sure that we get those out for you guys.
Okay. Well, all right. Anyway, thank you very much for your time and your attention then. And I look forward to seeing you all with Maddie in 2 weeks. So.
Thanks, Graham.